title, Anthony Davis Wants Out? The Mavericks Trade Dilemma Explained. What if I told you that Anthony Davis might already be planning his next move, and it might not be with the Dallas Mavericks? Yes, one of the biggest stars in the NBA is right back in the middle of trade rumors, and this situation is way more complicated than it looks. Let's break it all down. Right now, the Dallas Mavericks are sitting at a disappointing 14-23 record. Despite drafting the highly touted rookie Cooper Flagg, this team is clearly at a crossroads. Most franchises in this position would blow it up and start a full rebuild, but that's not what Dallas is doing. Instead, the Mavericks are still trying to make the system introduced by former head coach Nico Harrison work, even after he was fired back in November. Dallas is choosing patience. They're holding the line, waiting to see what happens once Kyrie Irving returns to the lineup. And that's where Anthony Davis enters the picture.
Since Harrison's firing, Anthony Davis has been at the center of trade rumors. Many fans assumed a deal was inevitable before the trade deadline. But according to The Athletic, the Mavericks don't feel like they need to make a move right now. From Dallas's perspective, there's no urgency. But from Anthony Davis's side, it's a very different story. According to the same report, Davis's camp does not believe the Mavericks are willing to offer him a contract extension this summer. And that changes everything. Anthony Davis prefers to be traded to a team where a long-term extension is actually on the table. That's a huge deal, because Davis isn't just thinking about basketball. He's thinking about security, stability, and his future. Now let's talk about the biggest problem here, Anthony Davis's contract. This season alone, Davis is owed over $54 million. And over the next 2 years, that number jumps to $121 million.
On top of that, his injury history makes teams extremely cautious. So even though Davis is still an elite talent when healthy, trading for him is a massive financial and medical risk. That's why this potential trade is such a challenge for Dallas. Still, several teams have shown interest at different points this season. The Toronto Raptors were mentioned early on. The Atlanta Hawks also explored the idea. But here's the catch. Dallas has zero interest in bringing Trae Young into any deal with Atlanta. And on the other side, the Hawks refuse to part ways with their 2024 number 1 overall pick, Zachary Rishisher, a player the Mavericks really want. So that door, pretty much closed. Another team that quietly explored a Davis trade, the Golden State Warriors. According to The Athletic, Golden State has considered making a move. But there's a major problem. For the money to work, the Warriors would have to include either Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler in the deal.
And they don't want to move either one. No Draymond, no Jimmy, no deal. Then there are the Milwaukee Bucks. They've also looked at Anthony Davis as a potential target. But the Bucks have a serious issue. They're almost completely out of tradable assets. From Dallas's perspective, Milwaukee simply doesn't have enough to make the trade worthwhile. So again, another dead end. And that brings us to the real question. If Dallas doesn't need to trade Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis wants to be traded, who blinks first? Do the Mavericks hold on to him and risk losing leverage? Or do they move him now, even if the offers aren't ideal? One thing is clear. This situation isn't going away. As the off-season approaches and extension talks become unavoidable, the pressure will only increase. Anthony Davis wants long-term security. Dallas wants flexibility. And the rest of the NBA is watching closely. Because one move, one decision, could completely reshape the league.
And trust me, this story is far from over.